Manufacturing jobs are making a comeback after the pandemic nearly wiped them out 3 years ago. Now there are plenty of jobs available, just not enough workers to fill them.
Our Liam Collins is live in the studio to explain the problem and give us a possible solution. Liam.
Yeah, David, Cindy, manufacturing jobs have been climbing back since the 2008 recession, almost cut those in half, and the pandemic didn't help matters either. But rapidly advancing technology could change the game for everyone.
So that they can really keep up to speed with technology. Because
Denise Hall sees big changes in the future of manufacturing. She predicts computers, technology, and artificial intelligence will soon change everything.
Automation and technology is not going to replace jobs, but they are going to change the way jobs are done.
The National Association of Manufacturing says 1.4 million jobs were lost during the pandemic. Now potential workers are seeing a different landscape. Some 700,000 jobs are unfilled, partially because of a shortage of people with the proper training on new technology. Hall says peak performance and the SMART Institute's mission is to close that gap.
And that's where we're really focused on making sure that we're developing the workforce, both emergent workers that are in school and also people that are already in the workforce.
The SMART Institute is a part of the PI Center in Bradley County. It's a manufacturing training center that provides modern training for the next generation of manufacturing employees. Hall says it's the solution to struggles in recruiting.
Manufacturing is growing so quickly in the southeast area of the U.S. There's a lot of reasons why that it's attracted here.
Manufacturing jobs could look very different in 10 years as technology like artificial intelligence and interconnectivity of devices leads to different ways to use the workforce.
So there will be a lot of jobs that are available from technology, but they're going to be different than the way that we see them today.
The SMART Institute is having its SMART Expo from 9 to 3 on August 10th. You can get more information on our website, local3news.com. Cindy.
Liam, thank you. Coming up next.
He helps tell that story of other Black service members, and that's what the medal represents. It represents service of everyone.
A Medal of Honor recipient was recognized in Chattanooga on this Juneteenth. Today's Juneteenth, a holiday to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S.
On this day in 1865, Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of slavery, effectively emancipating the remaining enslaved individuals. And that was 2 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation.
Now, those enslaved in Tennessee learned the news just 7 months after the Emancipation Proclamation. Tennessee's military governor Andrew Johnson made the announcement on August 8, 1863.
The descendants of enslaved African Americans and the descendants of the family member of their enslavers have come together in Crawfordville, Georgia. The event took place at Liberty Hall, the home of Alexander Hamilton Stevens, the Vice President of the Confederacy. Those in attendance include the descendants of Linton Stevens, as well as Eliza Stevens, who was purchased as a young girl.
To commemorate Juneteenth, the Charles H. Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center is hosting a special tour. The center is recognizing the U.S. colored troops who helped usher in a new birth of freedom, including Sergeant George Jordan, who received a Medal of Honor in Chattanooga. Though Jordan was a well-known decorated war hero, he ended up dying after retirement in 1904 from a liver disease because he was refused medical treatment because he was black. Thomas says a chaplain in the area heard of what happened and went to Washington.
Finally, a rule was made that any service member, regardless of race, can go to any military base and receive medical attention.
Thomas says Jordan's story improved the lives of countless black soldiers. While Sergeant Jordan's story was highlighted today, you can learn more about the history of the U.S. military at the National Medal of Honor Heritage Center.
Coming up next, could be a rainy week here in the Tennessee Valley. You'll hear more from Clay Smith right here on Local 3 News at 4. And in traffic this afternoon, things are starting to pick up a little bit. I-24 at the Welcome Center near the Tennessee-Georgia line, right near Dade County. Just a few minutes ago, that was back-to-back, bumper-to-bumper. Now moving a little smoother.
This is Local 3 News at 4.
We're glad you're with us for this second half hour of Local 3 News at 4. I'm Cindy Sexton.
And I'm David Carroll. Thank you for watching today. If you've been outside today, it's one of those Mondays where you might step outside for a minute, the sun's shining, and you go in the house, go back out 5 minutes later, and there's a thunderstorm. It's that kind of day.
It's been a mixed bag. Meteorologist Clay Smith joins us now with what lies ahead.
Yeah, and we are trending a little bit drier on this Monday, of course, but as we take a look, well, we're going straight into your 7-day. If we can switch that over to links 2, that would be great. All right, well, as we take a look at your forecast for tomorrow, we'll start with that. 79 degrees, scattered showers and storms, locally heavy rain, and again, going to be one of those days where it's going to be quite rainy out there. And as we go into the next several days, we're kind of going to enter this really stormy pattern here across the Tennessee Valley. Multiple rounds of rain. We take a look at that futurecast. Again, the rest of the evening will be fine, but as we go into the overnight, it does look like we are going to trend a little bit drier out here across the Tennessee Valley. A lot of cloud cover tonight. It's going to be very humid as well, so that is something to kind of be mindful of. But for the most part, our rain chances are going to be done here across the Tennessee Valley, at least for this evening, outside of a few pop-up downpours. Overnight, that trend will continue. And then as we go into your Tuesday, we're going to have some more showers coming through here across the Tennessee Valley. So again, it is going to be very active the next couple of days. As we take a look at your next few hours, again, lower 80s, upper 70s as we go into the 9 o'clock hour. And then overnight, again, mainly dry, going to be really soupy, very humid with partly cloudy skies here across the Tennessee Valley. But again, those dew points in the 70s, air you can wear on this Monday afternoon, but it does look like we're going to keep that stormy forecast in the forecast, at least for the next couple of days. So we'll talk more about that coming up here in just about 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Clay.
It was another deadly weekend in America with multiple shootings, killing a handful of people across the country.
And we're going to show you the various locations. Look at that, all over the nation. And all of these shootings are considered to be mass shootings.
Shooting late last night in Greenville, North Carolina, killed a man and injured 5 others. Greenville police found a 45-year-old man dead when they arrived just before midnight. They say those who were injured range in age from 15 to 64. They believe the shooting stemmed from an argument between 2 groups of people.
A gunman opened fire in Kellogg, Idaho last night, leaving 4 people dead. A motive for the shooting is not yet known. A 31-year-old man has been taken into custody.
At least 6 people were injured in a shooting in San Francisco yesterday. Police say 2 people were hit by gunfire, 3 were injured by shards of glass, and 2 girls were hit by a vehicle. An SUV crashed at the scene. Authorities believe the incident may have involved 2 vehicles. No arrests have been made.
Chicago police are investigating a fatal shooting. 4 other people are injured. Their conditions are unknown. It happened on the city's south side.
Authorities are investigating a deadly shooting in Washington. 2 people were killed and 3 others injured at the Gorge Amphitheater on Saturday. Police were able to detain the shooter. Details on the victim and their ages have not been provided at this time.
5 people were injured in a shooting outside a Decatur, Georgia nightclub late Saturday. The shooting took place at the Cosmopolitan Premier Lounge. 4 of the injured have left the hospital. Police do not have a suspect.
A deadly shooting early yesterday morning in downtown St. Louis left 1 young person dead and 9 others injured. 1 victim was pronounced dead at the scene. The 9 others were treated at area hospitals. The homicide division was requested to investigate.
1 person is dead and 22 others injured in a shooting Sunday in Willowbrook, Illinois. Deputies heard multiple gunshots and responded to an area where a large crowd was gathered for a Juneteenth celebration. An unknown number of suspects fired into that crowd, killing 1 and injuring more than 20 others. There are no suspects in custody and no known motive.
Well, 2.5 weeks after a baby was surrendered to the baby box in Knoxville, he now has a family. The Knoxville newborn is one of 10 surrendered at safe haven baby boxes across the country so far this year. In Tennessee, a mother can surrender her unharmed newborn to designated facilities within 2 weeks of birth without fear of being prosecuted under the safe haven law. The safe haven baby boxes allow mothers to keep their anonymity while doing so.
It's not that they don't love their child. They're just in a crisis that you and I may never understand. And so for this parent to utilize this box 99 days after this box went into service, I think speaks volumes.
Well, Safe Haven installed a new baby box in Jackson, Tennessee, and they are testing the equipment and training people on how to use it. Plans for other locations are in the works.
Coming up next, Charles White grew up in segregated Chattanooga, but he had a dream. And in just a moment, you'll find out how he made history and broke some barriers. A remarkable life just ahead.
We are here at the College World Series. We're keeping you updated on all things Tennessee and Stanford. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
There you see it, I-24 eastbound, right around Seminole Drive near the Ridge Cut. The Tennessee help truck over on the shoulder. And they are helping out some folks who have had either an accident. I believe it is an accident. In fact, several vehicles involved in that one. That's why traffic is slowing down. So we'll keep an eye on that one for you. But if you're headed eastbound on 24, maybe towards the Brainerd area, Knoxville, Atlanta, this is what you're going to run into for the next few minutes. Hamilton County's longest-serving school superintendent has passed away. Dr. Don Loftus, a Soddy Daisy native who served in the U.S. Army in Vietnam and various county government positions, was appointed to the top schools job in 1980 and served until the county schools absorbed the city system in 1997. In later years, he became an education consultant. There you see him at Loftus Middle School, and that's named for him. In fact, you'll see his name at the entrance of many county schools as he presided over the construction and expansion of many of them during his 17 years in office, a time of great growth in county schools. In 2003, this decorated war hero talked about his stint in Vietnam as part of our Veterans History Project and explained how his military service prepared him for leadership. Listen.
I learned a lot about how to be in control of people or how to be in charge of people, how to lead people. I think I learned leadership from my experience with the Army. You also learn, one of the things you learn, I think I learned, is sometimes we take ourselves much too seriously, you know. And I've always tried to keep the thought in the back of my mind, you know, if somebody's not shooting at me, I'm probably not going to worry about this too much. So I don't think I worry about stuff as much as maybe people that hadn't had the same experiences. I think that was something that maybe a lot of people don't get that don't go in the Army.
Dr. Don Loftus had been ill in recent years. Fellow educators remember him as a local legend who fought for better schools and more opportunities, both academic and vocational, for students. Dr. Loftus was 81, and funeral services will be announced later. 3 teenagers have died in a crash in Nashville. 18-year-old Jeffrey Prendergast was driving when he fled from an officer. Police say the teen was with about 150 street racers. He left the roadway, hit a railroad track beam, and went through a chain-link fence. Prendergast and his 2 passengers, 18-year-old Jonathan Bravo and 19-year-old Jordan Pasantis, died at the scene.
Firefighters in North Carolina are continuing to investigate a fire that killed 5 people yesterday. The fire broke out on Broadway, southwest of Raleigh. A father and his 2 sons died. They were staying at the home of 2 friends who lived there. The residents of the home also died in the fire.
The deadline to appeal Tennessee 3rd grade retention is tomorrow at 5. What parents need to know before it's too late.
And a federal judge issued a new order regarding the classified documents trial of former President Donald Trump. At 5, why the public will see limited evidence in the case until the trial is over. We'll have those stories and much more.
Cindy and I will be here for you starting at 5. On this Juneteenth, we celebrate the pioneers who lived through segregation to finally see their dreams realized.
Our Greg Glover introduces us to Charles White before his son Reggie shot to fame in the game of football. He was a trailblazer in Negro League baseball right here in Chattanooga.
Racial progress in the U.S. can be measured in steps, and while the history books rightly record Union victories in the Civil War and freedom marches in the Deep South, this story is about a walk of about 2 or 3 blocks, the distance between Ingalls Stadium and Lincoln Park. In the days of segregation, Warner Park was for whites only. Lincoln Park was opened in 1918 for black residents. The divide carried over into sports, and in baseball there were separate leagues. Chattanooga had the Lookouts, and in the Negro Leagues, the Choo-Choos and
the Chattanooga Stars, that's who we was when we played with Reggie's grandfather.
Meet Charles White. That Reggie he mentioned, his son, Tennessee and NFL legend Reggie White.
I'm so proud, man, of just knowing that they named a street after my son, the same street I used to walk to elementary school.
Athleticism runs in the family.
I was the first 12 letterman come out of Howard, and Reggie was the first All-American.
Mr. White's main sport was baseball, and on the way to play in Lincoln Park, he'd walk right by the marquee ball field in town, Ingalls Stadium.
See, lookouts used to be wrote out there on that little hill, straight center field. It used to have the lookouts wrote in white. I always used to look through, out on 3rd Street, look through the little hole there where the blacks used to come through. And I used to look through there and I see lookouts playing. And me and Al used to say, man, we're gonna play on that field one day.
Al was his brother, another baseball great. As they grew up in the 50s, the crowd was segregated too. Whites in the grandstand.
It was covered, you know, if it rained, we know they'd get, but down on the far end, on like toward 3rd Street, it was a little gate there. And the blacks used to come right there and had the wood seats, you know, and that's where all the blacks used to sit at. And then we used to wonder why we used to sit out here.
Road trips to away games were less than luxurious.
And you wouldn't believe 9 of us would get in the 56 Ford and ride all the way to Athens, Georgia.
But the adversity of the day didn't fuel their anger. Instead, they channeled it to win championships. And they gained inspiration from some of the great black players they saw come through town.
It was the Coca-Cola bottle used to sit right straight in center field. I seen Willie Mays hit one and it was still going down by the train tracks. That's the longest ball I ever seen hit. And then and just watched Satchel Paige pitch, man, it was just amazing.
And as the years went by and things slowly changed, they made their dreams come true.
Al was the first amateur that hit one out of Ingalls Stadium. And I think I was the second one. Hit one out on right field and it bounced on top of the fence and went over. And that right there, man, I always wanted to hit one out and I got my chance. And I felt like, I thought I was big time then.
That was 1971, 11 years after he graduated from Howard High School. It's been quite a journey, and each year Mr. White and the remaining members of the Negro Leagues are honored by the lookouts at AT&T Field and no doubt on the field to come. Their struggle is part of our history, and amazingly, he harbors no resentment over the way things used to be.
I don't have no animosity toward nobody. I just want everybody to know that they just should love each other, pray every morning. And you know, when I wake up in the morning and see daylight, the first one I think is the Lord. And I don't let nothing spoil my day. I'm just glad that I'm still here to can tell the story.